Hello everybody, I'm back here on YouTube for just a little bit, and I know it's been a while since I made a video, but I've got an F-head here in the test stand. That's just an old piece of frame, and I've got a little exhaust pipe hooked up on there. Got a few gauges around there, and I told this particular guy that I'd make a video of the running engine, the start it and the break-in of his engine. I rebuilt this engine, transmission transfer case. I did his steering box as well, and this is headed down to Virginia to go in a CJ5. We've got a nice freshly recored radiator there, and I couldn't save the carburetor that came with this engine, so that is a new old stock Carter YF. This is an engine came in, and I thought it was in better shape, based on talking with the owner, and turned out it had some cracks in it and it was in bad shape, so I had another F-head block, and I rebuilt one from parts and pieces that I had here in the shop, and it's just about ready to get fired up. It's a little tight in here. Got my fuel tank on the brake there, and here's another project that came in recently. This is a 67 CJ5 body. This is off of a V6 Jeep, and it's been dipped. It was dipped before I got it, and it's squeaky clean, but it's got a lot of dents and stuff. Not so much in the way of rust, but it hit just about everything it can possibly hit. I believe it was a hunting vehicle, and it took a beating along the way. So this is going to be a Prairie Gold. You can see the original dash right there, and I will get all the metal work done over the winter and give it a nice paint job in the spring. So it's kind of tucked away tight in here. The shop is kind of crowded. I got a lot of things going on, but I am going to fire this engine up. I'll try and get a shot of everything, and that's what's going to happen next. So hang in there, and I'll get the tripod out and we'll get this guy fired up. Okay guys, I can't get a real good shot because I got the radiator in the way, but we're just going to power up the coil. I've got the Pertronix ignition in here, and I've got the epoxy filled coil. I always like to use the epoxy filled one. So we'll get that like that. I've got a solenoid with a push button starter, and we'll hit it. Carburetor is primed with fuel, and I know I'm right on the money with the timing. I've got it set. I've got the timing light out, but you can tell, just set it a little bit before number one, and should fire up. We're going to kick the idle up, and we're going to break this engine in. Okay guys, we got about a half hour of break-in time on that, and the very next thing I do is drain the break-in oil. I'm going to do an oil and filter change next. I have a little oil leak coming from the back of the oil pan. It looks like just a tiny little seep there. I'm going to investigate that a little bit further. Everything ran okay. I've got to adjust the carburetor a little more. It's a little sluggish on acceleration there. I could feel just a little bit of lag time there. I'm going to adjust that. But like I say, I get that break-in oil out after the first half hour. Some guys think that's extreme, but that first half hour is a critical run time in an engine, and I like to have fresh oil in there after the first half hour. So you could see we had a little over 40 psi when we had some RPM there at idle. I've got the idle set to about 750 right now. Comes down to about 25. Perfectly happy with the oil pressure. And you can see the water temperature gauge thermostat opened at 180. It's just heat soaking right now, and it's creeping up to about 195. But that'll come down. So break-in, pretty successful. I'm a little concerned about that oil leak, but like I say, I'm gonna investigate that a little bit. Main thing is no catastrophes. Everything sounded good. You could hear the the valves just a little bit. I set them a little bit loose for break-in. It's better to hear them, because if you don't hear them, they're not giving up their heat. So there was just a little bit of clacking, but perfectly normal. Once this gets a few miles on it, they can be adjusted perfectly. But always better to have a little bit loose valve on startup. And I had the carburetor set a little bit rich, because again, on startup you don't want anything too lean. You can start burning things immediately. So a little bit of richness on your first startup and break-in isn't going to hurt anything. Much better than being lean. So we're going to let that drain for a while. I am going to get the filter changed, and we'll take it from there. Like I say, I'm going to investigate that oil leak, see if it's coming out of the oil line or if it's coming out of the back of the pan. I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm going to address that next, and be back with you in just a little bit. Okay guys, it's getting a little bit later in the day. It's getting a little dark in here. I left off just a while ago saying that I had to investigate an oil leak, and it was more than an oil leak. It was a huge oil puddle. It was almost like you had your kitchen sink running on low, and the culprit was the rear main seal. And there's a lot of rear main seal talk, I know, out there, and I usually use my new old stock seals that I have, but I'm getting real low on those, and I needed to find a new supplier. And everybody is talking about how good the rear main seals are from Best Gasket. You can find these just about, and everybody's carrying these now. And I don't know if I was just unlucky or this is how bad they are, but the oil was literally pouring out the back of the engine. So I pulled the pan and pulled this out and put one of my new old stock ones in there, and just ran it again for another half hour without a drop. But this was so bad when it was running, I had to put a pan under it to catch the oil. And it is the Best Gasket, not best as in it's the best, but the Best Gasket company. And it's printed right in there. I don't know why they print it there. That's kind of right where the seal happens. But anyway, This seal is so bad that when I put it around a crankshaft that's just sitting out, it doesn't even hit the crankshaft. You could slide the seal back and forth, and it was just a disaster. But that's my experience with it, and I have a bunch of them, and they're all the same, and they are going right in the garbage. I will not use this gasket again. And I know there's a lot of guys that have had good luck with them. I don't understand how, but this one was a disaster. And when you measure it and you take all sorts of dimensions and you squeeze it, I squeezed it in a block with a crank in it with the main cap and stuff, and it still barely is hitting the crank, the seal surface. So I guess I was just unlucky to get a bunch of bad ones, maybe. I don't know, but if this is the quality of the gaskets now, I will go back to the rope seal, because the rope seal would seal much better than this disaster of a seal that I have here. But fear not, Steve. I've got the new seal in there, and we are leak free. And I just ran it again. You could see it's right around 180. And I just ran this on water, and I will drain it for pickup. The radiator will be off. I'll drain the block for you. Transmission transfer case are doing perfect. No leaks. Shifting just fine. And you will have to adjust your carburetor just a little bit, because I don't have any of the air cleaner on here, and it will act different. I'm going to fire it up for you again so you can see it. We've got about 40 psi at when we have some about 1500 RPM or so. 1200 RPM comes right up to 40. Idles at 25, and thermostat opens at 180. So I'm going to fire it up again for you. And like I say, you will have to do just a tiny little bit of carburetor tweaking. It's a little rich right now because we have so much air going in there. We don't have an air cleaner on there or anything. You will be able to lean it out a little bit once you get everything hooked up. But I'm going to run it again and show you how nice it idles and works. So it's been a long road, but we're finally here at the startup. And one little snag with the rear main. I wasn't planning on that. It just shouldn't be like that, but I don't know what it is. Companies can't make the right stuff, but had some serious bad luck with that gasket. And if anybody's interested, I have a whole bunch of information and I'd like to go over. If anybody's interested in seeing a video specifically on rear main seals, let me know, and I'll show you what's out there, what works, what doesn't, and how to install a rope seal, because we may be getting back to that if this is what the rear main seals are like now. But let me fire this up again for you, and I'll be right back with you. That's a perfectly fresh recoil radiator. You can see right through it. It's not clogged up with anything, and that will do a good job for you cooling the engine. And it's kind of dark here. It's getting later in the day. Like I say, you will have to do a little bit of carb adjustment. Just keep the lean best idle once you have your air cleaner on there, and it'll work out just fine for you. Okay, so that about sums up the startup, break-in, and run-in of the engine. Like I say, transmission transfer case, everything is going real good. Engine fires right up. We got good oil pressure. And I have changed the oil on here, so we are on our second oil filter and 1540 oil. The break-in oil has been drained, new stuff is in there, so you can take this home and run it in your chassis, and then maybe put a few miles on it, or depending on how much you're running in your chassis, maybe I don't know, maybe 40 hours or so of runtime. Maybe you want to change it again one more time. It doesn't hurt to change your oil on a new motor frequently. Like I say, the break-in oil lasted a half hour in there, took it out, new filter, and now we have 1540 in there, so that's what I like to run in these engines, and you'll have good luck with that. So it is at this point ready to go. So it's been a long build, but it's finally done and ready for pickup. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I may come back with more frequent weekly videos if there's good response and guys still want to see stuff. I don't know exactly what guys are looking for, so if you have any ideas what you'd like to see, let me know. And thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you again on another video.